Hey y'all, it's Chris with Rockin Farm, and today we're going to be dealing with a little bit of an electric fence problem. So I have a boar that's being a little bit of a pain in the butt. We don't really have a lot of electrical access out here on our pastures where we keep our pigs. So I did what I think a lot of people do in the beginning, and I said, well, solar must be the answer. The problem that I'm running into with the solar is that solar that I can afford, and I'm not being like a super cheapskate, but solar that I can afford just doesn't have enough joules. And from the way I understand electricity, joules is what pushes the zap down the line. So you can have high wattage and stuff like that. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to hit hard. So I invested in a solar electric fence energizer that is on the higher end of what this manufacturer has to offer. It's the Solar IntelliShock 180 by Premier One. So it's got a great big panel on it. It's supposed to push 1.8 joules, which compared to the 0.6 joule one that I had before, I was like, oh, this is it. This is gonna do the job. Well, this guy gets interested in enough in the girls that are relatively close by that he's crossing over all the time. And I'm getting tired of playing the panicked, run out here, escort him back where he's supposed to be, and then frantically walk around looking at all the gilts to make sure that none of them are in heat. They're feeder gilts, so it's kind of one of those worst case scenario things. We would either have more feeders and or I could give them the medication needed to terminate the pregnancy. But I just don't want to deal with it. I'm tired of. I think we've gotten lucky so far. I haven't seen any signs that any of these gilts are pregnant. I have the girls with him that are supposed to be with him, and I have the girls that are supposed to be with my other boar over on the other side of the farm. So I don't think we've had any accidents yet, but it's just a matter of time if I don't get this fixed. So here's that Solar IntelliShock 180. It's a big system considering that it's solar. And there's the culprit right there, Mr. Güero Canelo. So what's going to be our answer to the solution? Well, I'll show you the box right now, but I got myself some contractor grade extension cords. I got myself a plug-in electric fence energizer system. I've got some longer grounding rods on the way, but they're not going to be here for a little bit. But basically, we're going to go from 1.8 joules to 6 joules and see if we can't convince him that this is where he needs to stay. I got my hands on some wire that I can bury underneath the ground. And here's the energizer that we're going to give a try. It's the 6.3 joules of stored energy with 5 joules of output. So it's still, almost 3 times what we're running now. Unfortunately, with the summer being so hot and the drought being so bad and the summer being so expensive, this was how much energizer I could afford right now. If this doesn't do the trick, I don't feel like it's going to be a waste of money because I'm 90% sure I can use it somewhere else and have it be very effective. And we'll just have to keep saving up money until we can get something that really puts out some joules. But I've got a pretty good feeling that this is probably going to temporarily solve my problem until I can get stronger fencing in and whatnot. Hey y'all, so I actually started this video about a week ago, but things kind of tend to not go my way sometimes. I mean, that's just kind of the way life is, right? 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but eventually you get where you're going. So I ordered the Cyclops box that you just saw, and I plugged it in and it didn't work. So I switched out the fuses and it didn't work. So I contacted the company and they said, sorry about that, send it back. We'll get you a new one ASAP. They actually sent me the new one. I haven't even sent the old one back yet. Today I got the new one in the mail, plugged it in, click, 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 click. So it's working just like it's supposed to. Here's the bad news. In the week that I was waiting for the new box, Güero Canelo, Mr. Güero Canelo, my big ginger cream Sam line boar, he got out again. And this time he made his way over to the pasture where we had Carlita and Oliver together. They were together because we wanted Oliver to breed Carlita. And when I got home, I found Güero Canelo in their pasture with a big old foamy mouth, which is a pig's way of saying, hey, baby, look this way. And I saw foam all over her back as well. So It doesn't matter. I didn't see it, so it's 100% chance as far as I'm concerned that he bred her. Now, here's where the problem lies. We're not sure if Oliver bred her as well. And for those of you that don't know, a female pig can get pregnant from multiple boars. They basically get pregnant over the course of several days. That's why, like, Panchita had a very small litter of only 3, most likely because it was Güero Canelo's first time. He only bred her once, or bred her good once. So she had a very small litter. Dot, who was also bred to Güero Canelo, had 8 piglets, so he was getting the hang of things. Well, what that means, because they breed over the course of several breedings, if you've got 2, 3, 4 boars that all breed her over the course of several breedings, then you could have piglets from 2, 3, 4 daddies. So we know for a fact that Oliver did get her the next day. So we are absolutely going to have a pig that is most likely impregnated by multiple dads. And what that means for us is that her litter is either A, going to be nothing but non-registered feeder pigs, or if we see something in her litter that is just like, wow, that is too amazing to not pass on as a breed quality pig, then we are going to have genetic testing done to find out who daddy is. So, you know, and just as a reference to any of you that are new to pigs or new to Idaho pasture pigs, if you're working with a breeder and you hear any rumors, you hear any hints, there's even a possibility, you go out and look at their setup and you're like, that's questionable. If there's any possibility that you're working with a breeder who has boars that may be getting in and out of their paddocks and they don't mention genetic testing to you, I would just think about that from a working with that breeder standpoint. A good, honest breeder is if they have a whoopsie on their farm, and it happens. I've heard about the best of the best of the best having whoopsies on their farm when it comes to their, you know, their cattle or their pigs. So if a whoopsie happens, your breeder is going to tell you, we had a whoopsie. Here's the genetic testing form to show that this piglet was farrowed by this mom, obviously, and that this is the sire. If they're not talking genetic testing, I would just keep looking for a different breeder. That's just my personal opinion. You do what you want, obviously. So Güero got out. That means that I came home in a fit of frustration, and I found every scrap piece of fence, every part of a panel, whether it be cattle panel or hog panel. There's horse fence. There's 45-year-old field fence that's all rotted and covered in rust. Every scrap of fencing material that I could find on my farm, I put it against this paddock that is already had the electric tape in it. I wish I would have done it 2 or 3 weeks earlier. I was just waiting for this more powerful box, thinking that's my solution. But I scrapped together a fence, and Güero has not even attempted to get out in the last 7 or 8 days because it's not easy to do anymore. Now he would have to really force his way through a fence while getting shocked the whole time, as opposed to before, he could just kind of duck under or hop over the wires, and he might get hit a couple of times, but in his brain, he deemed that it was worth it to get hit a couple of times in order to be someplace where he wasn't supposed to be. Now he's going to have to get hit a whole bunch of times in order to be where he's not supposed to be. But y'all, he's no longer going to be getting hit by 1.8 joules. He's going to be getting hit by 5. They sent out the new box. As soon as I plugged it in, it was working perfectly. I've got it hooked up, and I can hear that fence humming the whole way down every time that this thing clicks. We still want to build a box around this in order to keep any weather off of it, because it's supposed to be indoors and it's not, it's outdoors. So we're going to build kind of a weatherproof cover for it so that it doesn't get wet. But I've got the system set up now running at 5 joules. It's hitting hard. Like I said, as I walk the fence, I can actually kind of almost hear it in the electric fence wire. So it's hitting hard, and we weren't having any problems with Güero getting out anymore anyhow, but now I definitely don't think we're going to be. I'm going to take the 1.8 joule box and move it over to replace the 0.6 joule box that's in Oliver's area, and then we're going to start saving up money for hog panel, y'all, and we're just going to back all of our electric fences with hog panel. and hopefully not have to deal with this again. It's a pain in the butt, but it's what I'm going to do because I consider myself to be a responsible breeder. We're going to genetic test if we need to. If not, we're just going to have nothing but feeder pigs available since we won't know who dad is without the genetic testing. And it is what it is. So the system is set up. The system is working. There's that kind of devilish side of me that's kind of waiting for a pig to hit the fence because I kind of want to see the reaction of the difference between 5 joules and 1.8 joules. But just to all you newcomers out there, if you've got pigs that aren't respecting your fence, it's going to be a few things. First thing we've got here, super dry conditions. We have super dry conditions. Second thing, grounding rods aren't long enough. My old grounding rods were only 2 feet long. Third thing, not enough juice in the box. We had the trifecta. So what we're doing now is we're running much longer grounding rods on a much stronger system. And then we are also coming out here with 2 5-gallon buckets of water every single morning and saturating the area where the grounding rods are. And because we do it every single day without missing, the area where the groundings are is becoming quite moist. So like I said, it happens to the best of us. It's not like I've been a pig breeder for 27 years or something, but I've got a little experience under my belt, and I've talked to folks that have been doing this for 5, 10, 15 years, and stuff like this happens. So don't feel discouraged if it's happening to you or has happened to you. If I've caught you before this happens, please learn from my mistakes. Remember I said when I first started this YouTube channel, at the very minimum, I'm going to teach you what not to do on your farm. So do not use undersized grounding rods with an underpowered system in extremely dry conditions and expect that to hold your boar looking for love in place. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to drop them down into the comment section or shoot me an email at rockin8farm@gmail.com. Till I see y'all again, this has been Chris. Be happy, live healthy.